Hey guys, hey guys, you're now tuned into the Mr. and Mrs. Goodbread show. Hey guys, you're now tuned into the Mr. and Mrs. Goodbread show. I'm your host, Mr. Goodbread. Now today, guys, we got a great episode today. We're gonna go into one of my favorite stories in the Bible, the David and Goliath story. Now a lot of people may think size versus a big versus little, but it's more to it than that. So we're gonna break down that story, and like I always tell you, you know what I mean? I live my life by stories in that Bible, and listen, we're gonna break it down. And we back. Alright guys, and we back now. So before we get into the story, let me give you guys a little bit breakdown of why I like the Bible so much. And I fuck with the Bible because it's like it's one of those things where you read a story in there and then you sit back and you watch real life and you watch how it play out, and it plays exactly out how it is. So it's like a blueprint and a guide to life. So if you follow the things that happen and the outcomes, and it makes the decision for you. It lets you know exactly how you're supposed to play this game of life if you're reading it right and if you're interpreting it the right way. You know what I mean, guys? But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the story, guys.
The biblical account of David and Goliath from the book of Samuel is perhaps one of the most popular tales from Scripture. Not only does it portray one of the greatest examples of heroics from the Bible, but it is also a tale that is applicable in modern times to our very own lives. It shows us that despite how large adversity may be for an individual, anyone has the ability to overcome it. It serves to teach us that by having faith, though not necessarily in God, but in oneself, victory can be achieved, even with the odds stacked against us. The tale starts with the Philistine army gathering their forces for war on one side of a valley. The Philistines in this tale are described as being the enemy of the biblical God, and that they worship pagan gods. Meanwhile, the Israelites, who take on the role as the servants of the biblical God, occupy the other side of the valley. They are led under King Saul, a man said to have been the tallest man in Israel.
Alright guys, now you know how that correlates to real life. You know how you see how you got the little guys like me and a small other little pockets of guys that's trying to build community, and they preach the gospel of building family, and it shouldn't be this feminism movement where the woman is the man and the man is the woman. You know what I mean? You got very little bit of us, but you got more so the people to the left of that want to see this happen, that's ignorant of even knowing that this is happening. So, you know what I mean? We're outnumbered. You know what I mean? We're outnumbered. And especially when it comes to guys like me, that's not going to cater to any one particular group. So we're going to call it down the middle. We're outnumbered. So that's why, guys, I tell you, it's Gus versus Goliath. All right?
But there was a man taller than even King Saul. Some say a 9-foot monster of a man who hailed from Gath. In the book of Samuel, he is described as wearing a bronze helmet, a coat of scale armor also made of bronze, and a javelin slung on his back. His name was Goliath, and he was as fearsome and as menacing as any 9-foot monster could be.
And of course, nowadays you see people look at me like if I'm crazy, like what are you talking about? Because the way society has the machine running, the machine is fierce. The machine is backed by millions and millions and trillions and billions and trillions of dollars, and then it's just little old me. You feel me?
It's understood that his presence in the valley stalled Saul's forces, for they were too struck with both fear and awe at the sheer size of this bellowing giant. For a whole 40 days, Goliath would march his way towards the Israeli forces and openly mock them with his booming voice, denouncing their god and exclaiming that none were as formidable as he. He would grow tired of waiting for the Israelites to make their move though, and so he would offer them an ultimatum. He told the Israelites to send a single man to face him, and in doing so, it would spare the rest of the men having to face him and his army. The winner of the battle would see their side hold dominion over the other, but his words only sent more panic through the Israeli army.
If we lose this war on masculinity, guys, and we go to the matriarch, you guys, man, I feel sorry for you guys.
No longer would they be in union when they fought Goliath, but instead, a single man would have to bear the horrors of facing his unmitigated strength, one-on-one. Being the king, it was expected that Saul would fight Goliath. After all, he was the tallest man in Israel. Not so tall as Goliath, but tall enough that he was considered to be a very viable candidate. But Saul hesitated, and despite being adorned in his armor, would not come out to face Goliath. And so enters David into the story.
Alright, guys, now, the fake society had people in place to where their job is to build the community. Their job is to hold us down. But those people are front, man. Those people are cover-ups. Those people are what I call gatekeepers, because they can't. The minute they go, and you're going to see on another video that I have on another topic, you're going to see the minute they go to help us, they're going to lose their position. So they only get paid to sell us hope. They don't get paid to fix nothing, because hope don't fix nothing. Truth fixes something. But those guys that y'all worship and y'all look up to, they get paid to feed us hope. You know what I mean? And that's why in this story right here, it's going to need a David. You're going to need a David to step in, because the fake guys that they push out there that's supposed to do
A
what
mere
they're
boy
supposed to
who was
do
more suited
don't
to
do
tend
what they're
into the
supposed to
sheep,
do.
given that
And
he
that's
had no
period.
extraordinary height, no rippling muscles, and certainly no reputation that would paint him as a fierce warrior, or a warrior at all for that matter. He was the son of a man named Jesse from Bethlehem. The three oldest sons of Jesse had all followed Saul to battle in the valley, and it was David's job which he was tasked with by his father to bring food and good tidings to the brothers in their time of war. On this occasion, where he was sent by his father to bring gifts to his brothers, he came across the two armies staring off against each other in the valley. In the effort to locate his brothers, David would overhear Goliath beckoning his usual tirade of insults at the Israeli god, and would notice how the Israeli army cowered in his presence. David would learn from the panicked mutterings of the Israeli army that King Saul was desperate to be rid of the giant Goliath, that he would do anything for the man who was able to slay him.
Now, of course, there's people sitting quiet. There's people that know what I say is great, and what I say need to be said, and something need to be done. But either they're tied to the same people that will cancel them, or they'll lose something in speaking up. So this is why it's David versus Goliath.
This included giving the man his own daughter, and would exempt him from the paying of taxes. Liking the sound of all this, it spurred David into action, and he would tell the other Israelites and his own brothers of his intention to slay Goliath. While this may be interpreted as David's bravery, and that it is his belief in himself and in God that makes him so full of conviction, it can also be said that the only reason he nominates himself so readily is because of the reward being offered. In the biblical story, David only considers taking action after he hears about the reward, and so his act can be interpreted as being one of selfishness. However, most agree that David acted in accordance with God's plan, and that it's understood from previous passages that David had been chosen by God to eventually replace King Saul, whom he was unhappy with.
Listen, guys, I have no dog in this battle, no dog in this fight other than my kids that's coming up. And that's one of the main reasons why I decided to do this. And one of the things that snapped me out of it. Because I see that my girls, they good. It's my guys. It's my little man that I got to protect. It's my little man that they after. So I got to keep my little man strong. And that's all I bring awareness for y'all. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just sit in private and keep my little man strong and not provide the opportunity for my peoples to see what's going on as well.
David would be brought before King Saul to make his bold proclamation, but King Saul wasn't impressed. He didn't believe that a mere boy who'd handled sheep all day was a viable fighter against a monster like Goliath, and most likely saw zero chance in David's success.
That's how they look at me.
If David lost, which he surely would have done, Saul would lose his entire kingdom to the Philistines. Furthermore, it didn't sit right with Saul to send an innocent boy into the path of Goliath, for it certainly would have been a massacre. But David was able to convince Saul to let him fight, where he tells the king of an account where he fought off a lion and a bear who had come to carry off his father's flock.
See, this is the thing. Society will look at me crazy. The other sheeps look at me crazy. Like, this is the only battle. This is not the first battle. I mean, guys, yo, I had Facebook since 2009, straight from MySpace. So I've been on the internet and I've been online for a long time. I've been giving back and looking out for my peoples for a long time. Just quietly, though, because they don't want you to know that. They don't want people to know that, though. They don't want people to know that. I done went through music. I done went through everything. Everything online. You know what I mean? I done had sponsorships for Hennessy. I am very qualified, guys. Like, really. But they don't want y'all to know that, though. Because that makes me a dangerous man.
David recounted that he seized the creatures by the hair, struck them and killed them all by himself. David went on to explain that he owed these victories to God, and that God would see him victorious against Goliath as well. So struck by David's account, Saul agreed to let him fight, and dressed David in his own tunic. He armed David with the finest coat of armor, and an equally fine sword. But when David tried to move around, he found the armor and the sword most cumbersome. So he removed them, and opted to fight Goliath without any armor at all.
Let me see what I mean, guys? This is the condescendingness in your own feet, folks. They don't believe, so they feel they gotta dress you up. You gotta change. You know what I mean? They oh yo, get your whole teeth changed. Get the fake teeth. You know what I mean? This is where society have all the girls with the same body shape. Everybody got the same fake butt. It's like they go to the same shop and they put the mold on. I want the A mold. So this is why I'm not part of that. I'm not here to appease nobody. I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to put y'all on my way. If you want to get put on, then you continue to be entertained and continue to be intrigued. But if not, then you know what I mean? I ain't forcing nobody to try to live right. Put it like that. We too grown for anybody to be begging folks to live right. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, this is what it is. This is what it is. The modern day David and Goliath.
Despite Saul's protest of this being a suicide mission, David calmly chose 5 small stones from the ground.
That's all I need.
And placed them in his shepherd's bag. With a sling in hand, he paced his way out into the valley and into the midst of Goliath. Much like Saul, Goliath wasn't very impressed with the skinny boy marching his way to meet him. In fact, Goliath was offended that such a challenger was even being presented before him.
Oh yeah?
In reference to David's sling, Goliath states, "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" Before he went on to curse David, telling him that he was going to feed his flesh to the animals after he was done killing him.
Remember, guys, fake the new real. So people don't believe. People don't believe in real. They only believe in fake. You know what I mean? They only believe in fake. Now, how he came there all dressed up, all, you know what I mean, all fancied and looking all big and brolic, then he would have gave him some respect. It's sad. He'd have gave him some respect in a losing effort. You know what I mean? So now he just gonna disrespect them in a losing effort. You know what I mean? It's sad how it is. It's sad how this world is. But peep the story, guys. And this is why I love these stories. But do you see the correlation? How it correlates? You know what I mean? How it correlates. All I need is my people. All I need is y'all to push these messages and to do what y'all continue to do. Grow the channel. All I need is to grow the channel. The little things. I don't need no armor and suit. All I need is the little things. 5 rocks, 5 stones.
David calmly told Goliath that he was going to lose this contest and his life, and that with the power of his God,
No cap.
he would see to the slaying of Goliath by the removal of his head. He also stated that Goliath would pay for the crimes he has made against the Israeli people and God, and that it was his corpse that would be fed to the animals. Not standing for that insult, Goliath moved in to rush David, but to his surprise, David came rushing forward to meet him. Reaching into his bag, David was able to take out one of the stones, which he used to sling at such a speed that it sank into Goliath's forehead, knocking him to the ground. With this, the valley was hushed into silence, and all anyone could do was watch on in awe, as David stood over the giant, victorious. But David wasn't quite done. He proceeded to decapitate the giant with his own sword, and this savagery would see the Philistine army turn to flee. Unfortunately for them though, the Israeli army would follow and see to the sacking of their camps and the butchering of their troops. It would be a major victory for the Israelites, given that the Philistines had been a principal enemy for them from 12,000 to 1000 BC. The Philistines were quite a threat to the Israelites as well, not just because they boasted a warrior like Goliath, but because they were skilled at working with iron and forging weapons. It would allow them to construct masterful chariots, which could be used during battle to ride down their enemies, as well as to cover large distances of terrain. However, as you can imagine, the chariots would not see much use in the valleys, given the harshness of the rocky terrain, and so it put them at a disadvantage. It would explain why Goliath and the Philistines didn't just rush the Israelites in the 40 days of Goliath's boasting, because they were cautious that the Israelites would fare better on the valley's landscape. It's understood that given the characteristics of the landscape, whoever attacked first would be at disadvantage, because they could be easily overrun, given that the terrain could not facilitate orderly formations of infantry. It would explain why Goliath opted to have a one-on-one battle against a single challenger, for he knew too that the battle would forever be a stalemate, with neither army willing to commit their army first. Given that no one was as tall as Goliath believed that in a one-on-one battle, he was virtually invincible. He could not conceive the idea of losing to even a veteran warrior, let alone a shepherd, and this only cemented the belief in himself that he would win no matter what.
See, when you let that ego and you let that pride overtake your thought process and your ability to make decisions and better decisions, and it fog your head, you doomed to fail.
However, David had belief in a higher power, in God himself, and so it casted Goliath in a different perspective. He didn't see the giant as a powerful being, but instead just a mortal man, created by God, just like any other. More importantly though, he was defying God in what was perceived as his pagan ways, and his insulting of the Israeli people. With this in mind, David believed that God would not want for Goliath to win, and so it would be he who came out victorious.
One of the many lessons that I teach my little man is, if somebody start trouble with you, you have every right to whip on them and you're not going to lose. But if you start trouble with them, then you're going to lose that, because God see everything, guys. And people always say, screaming this God is good crap, but if they always in them situations that they don't belong in, then they need to switch over to, they need to understand what God they think is good, because God don't put you in situations like that. You know what I mean? God always is with you, and he always got your back if you doing the right thing. And that's point blank and period. That's why we ain't fitting to lose this. You know what I mean? I want you guys to go check out this story all on your own, and I want you to get to know it, and don't ever feel that a task or goal is unreachable and it's too out of your reach, too out of your range for you to be able to reach it, right? Don't ever feel like that. You know what I mean? You could do it. You could do it. And don't let nothing stop you. Alright, guys. I appreciate everybody that watched these videos. I appreciate all the women, all the youngins, all the guys. Y'all know what we do over here. We keep it real, we keep it a buck. We don't cater to no one particular audience. You know what I mean? Alright.